Do not enrich your life with objects. Instead, enrich your body with sensations, your heart with feelings, and your mind with principles, says Japanese teaching. Dieter Rams was the lead designer at Braun for many years, and his philosophy is something we can all learn from. Rams was driven by the idea that almost everything is noise. He believed that very few things are essential. His mission? To filter through all that noise and get to the essence of what truly matters. As a young designer at Braun, Rams was given the opportunity to work on a record player. Now, back in the day, it was common to see turntables encased in solid wooden lids, or even integrated into bulky living room furniture. But Rams and his team had a different vision. They stripped away the clutter and came up with a design that had a clear plastic cover on top and nothing else. This was revolutionary, so much so that people thought it might bankrupt the company because no one would buy such a radical design. It took immense courage, as it always does, to eliminate the non-essential. But by the 60s, this aesthetic started to gain attraction. Eventually, it became the standard design that every other record player followed. Dieter Rams's design philosophy can be summed up in a simple yet profound principle, captured in 3 German words: weniger aber besser. In English, this translates to less but better. It's a principle that perfectly encapsulates the essence of essentialism. Imagine, what if society stopped telling us to buy more stuff and instead allowed us to create more space to breathe and think? What if society encouraged us to reject what has been accurately described as doing things we detest, to buy things we don't need, with money we don't have, to impress people we don't like? What if we stopped being oversold the value of having more and being undersold the value of having less? As poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" This video explores the priceless benefits of essentialism and how to apply principles of less but better in life. Wisdom of Ages says, essentialism is not about how to get more things done. It's about how to get the right things done. The difference between the way of the essentialist and the way of the non-essentialist is that both exert same amount of effort. However, the energy exerted by non-essentialist divided into many different activities. The result is that they have the unfulfilling experience of making a millimeter of progress in a million directions. Whereas the energy exerted by essentialist is given to fewer activities, and by investing in fewer things, they have the satisfying experience of making significant progress in the things that matter most. So, the way of the essentialist rejects the idea that we can fit it all in. Instead, it requires us to grapple with real trade-offs and make tough decisions. If we continue to pursue all we could with gusto and enthusiasm, we would be hyperactive, trying to learn it all and do it all. We will find a new obsession every day, sometimes every hour. And in the process, we can lose our ability to discern the vital few from the trivial many. We will make a millimeter of progress in a million directions, and we will overwork, but still be underutilized. Peter Drucker wrote, "In a few hundred years, when the history of our time will be written from a long-term perspective, it is likely that the most important event historians will see is not technology, not the internet, not e-commerce. It is an unprecedented change in the human condition. For the first time, substantial and rapidly growing numbers of people have choices. For the first time, they will have to manage themselves. and our society is totally unprepared for it. Today, we have lost our ability to filter what is important and what isn't. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. The more choices we are forced to make, the more the quality of our decisions deteriorates. The idea that we can have it all. I believe everyone alive today is infected with this myth. It is sold in advertising. It is championed in corporations. It is embedded in job descriptions as standard. It is embedded in university applications that require dozens of extracurricular activities. What is new is how especially damaging this myth is today, in a time when choice and expectations have increased exponentially. It results in stressed people trying to cram yet more activities into their already overscheduled lives. It creates corporate environments that talk about work-life balance, but still expect their employees to be on their smartphones 24/7. Did you know? The word priority came into the English language in the 1400s. It was singular. It meant the very first or prior thing. It stayed singular for the next 500 years. Only in the 20th century did we pluralize the term and start talking about priorities. Illogically, we reasoned that by changing the word, we could bend reality. Needless to say, when we try to do it all and have it all, we find ourselves making trade-offs at the margins that we would never take on as our intentional strategy. When we don't purposefully and deliberately choose where to focus our energies and time. Other people will choose for us, and before long, we'll have lost sight of everything that is meaningful and important. Therefore, we can either make our choices deliberately or allow other people's agendas to control our lives. Australian nurse Braun, who cared for people in the last 12 weeks of their lives, recorded most often discussed regrets. At the top of the list, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Instead of reacting to the social pressures pulling you to go in a million directions, you must learn a way to reduce, simplify, and focus on what is absolutely essential by eliminating everything else. According to the philosophy of essentialism, instead of asking, "Is there a chance I will have this someday in the future?" you need to ask more disciplined, tough questions. Do I love this? Do I look great in it? And do I wear this often? If the answer is no, then you know it is a candidate for elimination. Essentialist says, for the disciplined pursuit of less, one must know 3 realities, without which essentialist thinking would be neither relevant nor possible. First, individual choice. We can choose how to spend our energy and time. Second, the prevalence of noise. Essentialists believe almost everything is noise, and a very few things are exceptionally valuable. We must figure out what is most important. Because some things are so much more important, the effort in finding those things is worth it. Third, the reality of trade-offs. The core philosophy of essentialism says we can't have it all or do it all. If we could, there would be no reason to evaluate or eliminate options. Once we accept the reality of trade-offs, we stop asking, how can I make it all work? And start asking the more honest question, which problem do I want to solve? One paradox of essentialism is that essentialists actually explore more options than their non-essentialist counterparts. Whereas non-essentialists commit to everything or virtually everything without actually exploring, essentialists systematically explore and evaluate a broad set of options before committing to any. Because they will commit and go big on 1 or 2 ideas or activities. They deliberately explore more options at first to ensure that they pick the right one later. Essentialists spend as much time as possible exploring, questioning, and thinking. But their exploration is not an end in itself. The purpose of the exploration is to discern the vital few from the trivial many. Remember, working hard is important, but more effort does not necessarily yield more results. Less but better does. In his book, Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less, Greg McKeown says, there are 3 deeply entrenched assumptions we must conquer to live the way of the essentialist. I have to, it's all important, and I can do both. Greg McKeown wrote, these assumptions are dangerous. They draw us in and drown us in shallow waters. According to Greg, to embrace the essence of essentialism required to replace these false assumptions with 3 core truths. I choose to, only a few things really matter, and I can do anything, but not everything. Knowing these simple truths awaken us from our non-essential stupor. They free us to pursue what really matters and enable us to live at our highest level of contribution. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more empowering content. And if our content has inspired you, consider supporting our channel by becoming a member or giving super. Your contributions enable us to keep delivering valuable and uplifting content. Thanks for watching.